permanent documentation file. So I changed several settings, and it seems to be much better than the previous one. First of all, I only use slice for air, slice VR, and not the repeater host. It's good enough for my purposes right now, so I don't want to complicate my life unnecessary. Okay, so let's go from here, from top down. So first of all, the printer settings. I basically didn't change, I think, anything. Yeah, so these everything stays the same, at least as my previous settings. So this is not the factory settings for this printer, but somehow tweaked, but not related to the error presented in the previous logs. Okay, so for the cooling part and the filament settings, the cooling of BU3 is reduced, but it's basically because it has a much bigger fan than the original one. And for the filament settings, I reduced the first layer and the other layers bed heat. So it's previously was 90 centigrade, but it was much too hot. So it's get kind of squishy, and it's a little bit melting the first layer, so it wasn't good. So I reduced it to 70 centigrade, and besides that, I also disabled this brim. The previous prints all has some larger or smaller brim, but for the last two print, I noticed that if I manage to set the distance between the nozzle and between the bread just a tiny bit short than a width of post-it paper, then it's will stick very good, and I don't have to use a brim, at least not for this little cube. So this is it. And the last setting, which I tweaked and tried a lot. The first thing, it was the nozzle diameter, which was at 0.5, which was obviously bad because my nozzle is 0.3 and I forget to reduce it. Of course, it's my mistake, and it's nothing to do with how the 3D printing works. If you didn't set the correct diameter, it will be incorrect. So it's my bad, but good to know to check it sometimes, even the obvious things. And I also decreased the limits. For the maximum, it was 0.3. I reduced a little bit just to be on the safe side for the printing. And I also tried various lengths, these various extra lengths on the start, with 0, 0.1, 0. Minus 0.1, minus 0.2, minus 1.5 even. It was quite an interesting journey to see how these just these settings change the quality of the print. Of course, I cannot eliminate the little seam at the beginning right now, so I leave it to 0, because if I decrease it furthermore into the negative domain, it will obviously worsen the quality of the print. Okay, so I will leave it for 0 right now, and maybe I revisit it if it's necessary, but right now it's good to be 0. And I also removed this checkbox. It's also says that the default is false or 0. So it's basically help to eliminate a little bit of the seam, because it forces to retract on the layer change However, while I am watching the print in progress, I don't think it's necessary because it's a kind of smooth transition from one layer to another, like the as the nozzle goes around in the circle in a circle, and I don't think it's necessary to retract that just to lift up a little bit and move on. I maybe regret it, but right now it seems a good idea. I would like to stress that I am a total newbie about 3D printing, so I just experimenting and sharing my journey to the land of 3D printing. Yeah, so this is it, and basically it works. So the the new print was much better than the first one, and I think I will go with these settings from now on, and I try to fine tune it as necessary.